One of the most well-known areas of medical negligence, and clearly one of the most tragic areas of medical negligence, is when negligence results in brain injury to a child as a result of mismanagement of either the pregnancy or the labor or the delivery. Sometimes that is a brain injury, sometimes it can be a physical injury. The difficulty of such cases in terms of sorting out whether or not there has been medical negligence in a given case of birth injury or not is one of the paramount tasks that a lawyer has to perform. Because again, people will come when their child is born and isn't the child that they expected to give birth to. And they want to know why. And again, if the doctor has done their job properly, they may well have explained thoroughly and adequately and to the satisfaction of the family why their child is different than the child they anticipated. If that doesn't occur, or if the family still feels the need to get an objective or outside opinion, they're going to call a lawyer and ask that lawyer to look into the matter. And what that lawyer is going to do after listening to them and hearing what they have to say about what occurred is the lawyer is going to get the medical records and review those medical records closely to put together a timeline of both the pregnancy and then of the labor and delivery. Let's presume that we have a pregnancy which has gone well. The mother has had her prenatal care. There have been no complications identified, no illnesses that could have caused a problem, and that everyone reasonably anticipates going into the labor and delivery that there won't be complications based on what they then know. But a complication then arises during the labor. That complication is very often going to be revealed and demonstrated by what are known as fetal monitoring strips. Those are strips, and if you've ever been in a labor room, you've seen one of those monitors where they're monitoring both how the mom is doing and how the baby is doing. And they're monitoring to see if the baby's heart rate, most particularly, stays within a given anticipated safe range, particularly as the mom contracts. If the baby's heart rate doesn't stay within that normal, safe range, then that's a point when intervention is supposed to occur. That intervention may be in the form of decreasing any medication that's been given to stimulate contractions. People are familiar with a drug called Pitocin or Pitocin. That's frequently given to stimulate contractions. If the baby isn't able to tolerate it, then you may need to back off on that. You may simply just need to change mom's position in the bed so that the baby gets better oxygen, or you may need to give the mom oxygen. You're then supposed to, if you're the medical provider, whether you're a nurse or you're the doctor, you are then supposed to monitor the response to those interventions. If the response to those interventions is not a return to the normal range, then further interventions have to be considered at that point in time, consistent with the standard of care, because it means that the baby may be in trouble. What you're doing as a lawyer when you initially review those records is to see whether or not there were such periods where intervention was called for and whether it was undertaken and whether or not it was the intervention that should have been taken at that given point in time. I'm looking at a case right now where there was a knot in the cord, the umbilical cord. Now, that's a problem that you're not going to know about in all likelihood until you're in labor and delivery. And there was a signal, as it were, in this particular case, where the baby's heart rate did drop. It dropped significantly, and it dropped for a prolonged period. And the nurse who was monitoring at that point did not respond, did not contact the doctor, did not ask the doctor to intervene at that point in time. And then shortly thereafter, we begin to see on the strip as we look at it that the baby is beginning to suffer the effects of that loss of oxygen that had occurred. By the time the doctor does become involved, when the mom has fully dilated, she's reached that point when she's going to begin pushing and delivering the baby, that opportunity to have done something about that problem has now passed. Now we are full into the next stage of labor, and the complication that could have been addressed, that should have been addressed in that given case, now we're far down the road, and the baby's already in a compromised position. That compromised position grew even worse as that knotted cord complicated the then delivery of the baby through the mom's birth canal. Very sad to say, there is a very serious outcome in that case for that baby, and it's an outcome that could have been avoided if intervention occurred at the point in time when it should have occurred. It didn't in that case, and the consequences for that child and their family are going to go on long term for the rest of that child's life and for the rest of that family's life.